Summary of King. A Life, by Jonathan Eig, written and narrated by Janky Mind. Introduction. The King book unfolds a gripping biography of Martin Luther King, presenting the narrative of a man, a visionary rather than a saint, whose impactful career was tragically cut short at the age of 39. Across his 13-year journey, King championed a vision for the United States rooted in equality and justice for all, a legacy that endures beyond his untimely demise. Martin Luther King, Jr. boldly confronted the nation, urging it to align with the lofty ideals articulated in the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. Despite being a multifaceted and occasionally polarizing figure, King, far from a saint, grappled with flaws such as marital infidelity. Yet, he answered a divine calling, displaying a readiness to sacrifice his life for his noble cause. Employing nonviolent protest, King took on the challenges of segregation and racism while cautioning against the corrosive influences of materialism, nationalism, and militarism, which he believed eroded morality and the concept of universal brotherhood. This audiobook invites you to delve deeper into King's life within the context of his era and appreciate his enduring relevance today. Though his career spanned a mere 13 years, King significantly propelled the United States towards the realization of its foundational principles, equality and justice for all. This is the compelling story of a man who left an indelible mark on the nation. Chapter 1, From Little Mike to Reverend Dr. King. In the humble beginnings of the King family, Delia and Jim King, devout Christians and sharecroppers, raised their 9 children in a shack, 20 miles outside Atlanta, Georgia. Only one generation removed from slavery, they faced the harsh realities of routine violence and racism from the white community. Born in 1897, their second child, Michael, attended a rural school with a semi-literate teacher, just like his siblings. The family's financial struggles persisted due to sharecropping, prompting 14-year-old Michael to leave home barefoot in 1912, making his way to Atlanta. Starting as a laborer for a railroad company, Michael's hard work propelled him from coal shoveling to firing coal for steam engines. Despite his labor, his true passion lay in preaching, and by 1920, he was actively engaged in ministerial work. On Thanksgiving Day 1926, Michael married Alberta Williams, the daughter of Reverend A. D. Williams and Jenny Celeste Williams. Early in 1927, Reverend Michael King became the associate pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, working alongside his father-in-law. Their first child, Willie Christine, was born in November 1927, and on January 15, 1929, their second child, Michael King, Jr., known affectionately as Little Mike, entered the world. In 1934, inspired by a trip to Germany where he learned about Martin Luther, Reverend Michael King changed his name to Martin Luther King, and he also changed Little Mike's name. However, at home, the boy continued to be known as Little Mike or M.L. Growing up on Auburn Avenue in Atlanta, M.L. enjoyed a childhood friendship with the white son of a local store owner, but the specter of racial segregation began to cast its shadow when, at the age of 6, he was told he could no longer play with black children. His mother instilled in him the belief that he was as good as anyone. Despite the challenges, M.L. excelled academically, developing a love for books, acquiring an impressive vocabulary, and memorizing Bible passages and hymns. At the age of 15, he gained early admission to Morehouse College in 1944, where he was influenced by leaders like college president Benjamin Mays, who advocated for racial justice and nonviolent resistance. During his second year at Morehouse, M.L. decided to follow in his father's footsteps and become a minister. He was formally ordained at the age of 19 in 1948. His academic achievements were recognized when he received an oratorical prize at his Morehouse graduation, marking the first publication of his full name, Martin Luther King Jr. Against his father's wishes, King attended Crozer Theological Seminary in Chester, Pennsylvania, and later Boston University to pursue a doctorate. At Crozer, he delved into peaceful protest theories inspired by thinkers like Gandhi and Thoreau. In 1953, he married Coretta Scott, who became a crucial partner in his civil rights activism. The Kings moved to Montgomery, Alabama, in 1954, where Martin Luther King, Jr., became the pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. That same year, the Supreme Court's landmark ruling in Brown v. Board of Education declared school segregation unconstitutional, offering hope for racial progress. In June 1955, King received his doctorate of philosophy in systematic theology from Boston University, earning the title Reverend Dr. King. Despite these academic achievements, his transformative journey was only just beginning. Chapter 2: Bus Boycotts, Civil Rights, and Assassination Attempts. Now that we've delved into the early life of Martin Luther King Jr., let's explore his ascent as a leader in the civil rights movement. On December 1, 1955, Rosa Parks, the state secretary of the Montgomery branch of the NAACP, refused to yield her bus seat to a white man, leading to her arrest. In response, E. D. Nixon, local branch president, Joe N. Robinson of the Women's Political Council, and other black leaders orchestrated a boycott of Montgomery's buses. As a newcomer, King was elected president of the newly formed Montgomery Improvement Association, using his oratory prowess to rally support for peaceful protest and justice. For over a year, black residents boycotted segregated buses, enduring violence, including a bombing of King's home, while maintaining a commitment to nonviolence. King's leadership gained national attention, and the successful Montgomery bus boycott set the stage for further civil rights protests across the South, establishing King's Gandhian model of civil disobedience. In 1956, amidst continued boycotts, King's house was bombed again, and he faced arrest. The Supreme Court's mandate for desegregated buses marked a major victory after over a year of boycotts. However, celebrations were short-lived. Within days of the boycott's end, someone fired a shotgun at King's home, and incidents of violence against black individuals increased. Inspired by Montgomery's success, activists across the South initiated nonviolent campaigns against segregation. In Birmingham, Fred Shuttlesworth led a bus boycott, and his home was bombed in an assassination attempt. Recognizing the need for coordination, King helped establish the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, in early 1957, becoming its president. Throughout 1957, King traveled the country advocating for civil rights, even meeting with President Eisenhower, though without success. Despite his growing prominence, King faced criticism and controversies, including rumors of communist ties and personal attacks. Undeterred, King delivered a significant national address in 1957, solidifying his position as the movement's leader. In September 1958, while promoting his book in New York, King survived a stabbing by a mentally ill woman. During his recovery, King deepened his commitment to nonviolent activism. In 1959, he traveled to India, gaining insights into the fight against prejudice. At 29, King had become a national figure advocating for racial justice through nonviolent means. His leadership would continue to evolve in the years to come. Chapter 3: Jail Time, Man of the Year, and a Fatal Shooting. On Good Friday, April 12, 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. found himself arrested for demonstrating without a permit in Birmingham. During his more than a week in jail, he penned the renowned Letter from a Birmingham Jail, emphasizing the urgency of being extremists for love and highlighting America as a metaphorical prison for Black people. Published in the New York Post and the Christian Century, the impactful letter became a cornerstone of American history. Following King's release, an agreement for phased desegregation in Birmingham was reached on May 10, leading to the release of all jailed demonstrators. In June 1963, King and other civil rights leaders met with President Kennedy, who expressed concerns about King's associations, believing some of his friends were communists. Despite the tension, King pressed on with his mission. In August, the historic March on Washington took place, attracting over 200,000 peaceful protesters. On the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, King delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, envisioning an America characterized by equality and racial harmony. In recognition of his significant contributions, King was named Times Man of the Year later in 1963, but he faced FBI smears regarding alleged extramarital affairs. Undeterred, King pressed forward. In Selma, Alabama, in early 1965, he led nonviolent protests demanding federal voting rights protections for Black people. The brutal attack on peaceful protesters on Bloody Sunday spurred national outrage, leading to President Johnson's commitment to the 1965 Voting Rights Act. King shifted focus in 1966 to address economic exploitation, housing discrimination, and racial injustices in northern cities. However, his vocal opposition to the Vietnam War drew criticism from some civil rights supporters. In April 1967, he delivered a powerful speech at Riverside Church denouncing the war. King's vision expanded with the announcement of the Poor People's Campaign in late 1967, aimed at demanding economic justice through peaceful disruption in Washington, D.C. However, internal challenges within the civil rights movement and urban riots strained strategic unity. In early 1968, King went to Memphis to support a sanitation workers' strike, seeing it as part of his mission for economic justice. On April 3, he delivered his prophetic mountaintop speech, envisioning the ongoing struggle for justice. Tragically, on April 4, King was fatally shot by a sniper while standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. His death, at the age of 39, sent shockwaves globally, triggering riots in over 130 American cities. King's assassination marked the end of a courageous era of disciplined nonviolent protest, exposing the brutality of segregation and contributing to landmark civil rights legislation. Despite an FBI smear campaign, King's principles remained steadfast. In death, his legacy continues to inspire, as his dream of a more just society, true to the American promise of equality and freedom, lives on. Summary. In the crucible of a deeply segregated society, Martin Luther King Jr. bore witness to the harsh realities of racial injustices from an early age. Undeterred by the challenges, he soared academically and felt the calling of the ministry. King's leadership blossomed during the Montgomery bus boycott, where his compelling advocacy for nonviolent protest captivated the nation. The establishment of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference marked a pivotal moment as King spearheaded protests for voting rights, economic justice, and against racial discrimination. Despite facing threats, arrests, and relentless FBI surveillance, King remained unwavering in his commitment to justice. His iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, delivered during the March on Washington, resonates as a timeless beacon of hope. King's tireless efforts bore fruit with the passage of significant civil rights legislation. However, he encountered mounting challenges, including criticism for his opposition to the Vietnam War and the expansion of his activism. Tragically cut down at the age of 39, King's legacy endures as a beacon of inspiration for civil rights leaders, inspiring generations to champion racial equality and social justice through the power of nonviolent means. This audiobook summary was brought to you by Janky Mind, We hope you enjoyed it.